Michael,
Steven,
what am I doing here?
I have no clue. You should have a link in your email.
Yeah,
Did I call you?
No, I called you.
he's drunk.
Okay, I'm going on right now.
You better.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Whoa.
Yeah, he tried the old trick. Did I call you?
Yeah,
Oh,
where am I?
Yeah, where?
That old trick. Where
Oh,
am
I
I?
hate that one. That's the worst trick. Because I can't remember who called who. Wait a second.
And where am I? All right, welcome back. Hey, this is the end of 2024.
Woohoo!
The cookie train has arrived at the station. 2025 is getting on the tracks and get on moving, I guess you'd say. Get on with the new year. Train 2025. And with us today, we've got, once again, a returning visit from our expat expert specializing in Italy, Steve, our brother Steve. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to hearing some more exciting adventures in Italy, specifically maybe about trains, planes, or automobiles.
Oh boy.
Maybe
I have all
trains.
the above.
Well,
All the above.
you know what? We should touch on Dead Dennis. Well, I mean, because this is trains, planes, and automobile, and that is, maybe that's a whole show in and of itself.
I think
But-
that's a book.
Now and Chris, you guys ended up going down to Malta to visit that lady.
Yes, we did. And Dennis was still dead. At the
Dennis
time of
was
that visit.
she was still driving his body around Europe
In a caravan.
in a caravan. Well, to set up this story a little bit, and I'm not setting it up because we're not going to talk about it here.
Okay,
But-
good.
But our dear brother Bill, who was in Homeland Security, was at a big whatever they call that when they all get together to do a big
Convention.
sting or something, and they're all sitting around the room and they have to wait. They're waiting for the bus to go on, the bust, B-U-S-T, they're ready to bust this group or something, and they're all sitting around in this room waiting for this detail to go down, and people start telling stories, and this guy in the room goes, "Hey, do you guys ever hear the story about that diplomat in Italy that found the dead body in the caravan?" And Bill says, "That was my dad." Anyway, it's a true story.
That's pretty amazing. It's an excellent story. We probably should do a show on it at some point, but today we are
Okay,
going to.
today we're going to talk about boring stuff that Steve did in Italy. Strangle me now.
I have a lot of boring stories to tell you. Let me tell you.
Okay, take it away, Steve. What's the first really? Okay, let's start out with the most boring one first. Get that out of the way.
Okay, just to finish off, this is Bald Noggins report. We got Steve with us. We're going to talk a little bit about trains in Italy and anywhere else in the world, really, our train experiences and how it relates to 1 year old, new train, new train coming in, blah, blah, blah. Steve, you got something for us?
I could talk here all day, but a number one thing. So we're talking planes, trains, and automobiles. The automobiles and the trains in Italy are the two main modes of transportation, although the planes are getting absurdly cheap to fly from like Rome to Milan or Paris or whatever. It's ridiculous. But we didn't ever fly within Europe. We always took the train or we drove. And the one thing that was really cool is if you go to the major cities, you can rent cars typically. Now it just depends on the season, depends on like next year, 2025 in Rome is Jubilee. So hotels are going to be at a premium, trains are going to be packed, rental cars are going to be, I'm assuming will be at a premium. We were there post-COVID, literally right after COVID. was over or semi over, and we were renting cars out of Rome airport for like 120 euros a month.
Wow.
Which was literally cheaper than owning a car.
So when you say Jubilee, what do you mean? It's Italy's
Rome,
Jubilee.
well, every 25 or 50 years, the Vatican celebrates a Jubilee.
Right.
I think they give money away or something like that. I don't know.
I'll go back, join the Catholic Church again just to get my $13 from the
There you go. But in Rome, because the Vatican is in Rome, they do a bunch of stuff, and literally the city is inundated with people from all over the world. It's sort of like a pilgrimage.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I should have done more research, but so anyway, but that said, if you go to the second tier cities like Naples, Florence, and try and rent a car there, you're going to pay a lot because the car supply, I think, is smaller. Whereas Rome, I think there's thousands of cars. And I know that people would fly into Naples and literally spend $500-$600 for a week, anytime. And it was just like
Well, usually because the cars would get stolen, so they figured to get as much as they can. I was thinking about trains, Steve's talking about trains and all this. This is years ago when the old Mergellina train station, where you'd get off the trains, walk out, and it was kind of up on a little bit of a hill. It was like on a rise, and then you'd walk down these cobblestone roads to the piazza right down. Remember the beer piazza, Chris, where we used to
Mergellina in Naples, Italy.
Piazza, yeah, Piazza Mergellina. But Mergellina station was just like a block up the hill, and you get off and walk down. Well, this is like middle of winter, somewhere in January, February, and I get off the train. It's like 7 or 8, not that late, 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Get off the train, walk out of the train station. Of course, it's dark. There wasn't much lighting on the streets. And this guy comes running up from Piazza Mergellina, and running sprinting. He sprints by, and I went, that's interesting. And then I, walk down the steps, and I'm about to start walking down the hill, and here come, man, now I don't remember. It could have been 3 to 5 guys with the balaclava, whatever they call them, the masks on, the black masks, with the
baklava,
whatever.
No, that's a Greek dessert.
And they had little baklavas on their head.
Or bacala is
baklava.
All right, stop. Anyway,
Baklava. The baklava.
Flaka. The black flackers came with the hats, the flacking hats, came running up the hill with clubs, chasing this guy. I didn't know if they were just going to stop and beat the hell out of me because I wasn't running. Hey, what do they know, right? Could have been the same guy. Scared the crap out of me.
That's a wonderful story.
Uplifting. It elevates. It's an elevating story.
Especially if they have a Greek dessert on their head. That is unusual.
Then it's like a game, not to eat the desserts without.
It looked like a piece of salted cod to me, but
could have been. But anyway,
I
digress.
I just want to add to Steve's story about the trains. So you want to travel in Europe, trains are the way to go. And I went to visit Steve just last year, and I was like taking the train from Rome to Naples, and I get the kind of, hey, Chris, be ready to exit the train, at the station, because there may be issues. I don't remember exactly how it was stated to me. Just like, of course, I'm always ready. I'm hyper vigilant. So I was already ready. I was at the door with my bags and come on, we got it. It's almost next stop. And and we're standing at the door, and there's the station, and we're like, there it is. Okay. All right. We're stopping. And then we're not stopping. We just kept going. We just went right through the station.
They didn't stop the train at all?
They did not open the doors. So I'm like, So we go, so we're like, okay, we're gonna have to get off the next stop. Hopefully they'll stop. And this time an Italian guy was with us standing at the door, and they were not stopping at this one either. And he's like, so I'm like, okay, let's get this how you do it. And they did stop and we
Really?
got off. Yeah.
Didn't
Well,
they
the
have a
thing
button or
was,
something?
what was happening is the door, the opener, you have to hit the button.
Ah,
And oftentimes they don't work. And so the train will stop. You'll be at the door waiting to get off, and you hit the button and the door doesn't open. And then the trains literally only stop for what, 60 seconds? I mean,
Yeah.
if
Well,
that.
mine didn't even stop.
okay.
And
This
so-
here's
You
yeah.
gotta do
Here's
a dynamic roll as you exit the moving
Here's-
train through the door.
here's one better. Of course, this is a one-upmanship type of game.
oh,
One
ouch.
better. This is eons ago. Your dear brother Bill and I were going up to Spoleto, and which is north of Rome. It's just a little bit south of Assisi, and so we're supposed to change trains at a certain point. But it was still a ways before we had to change or get off or whatever. And the train stops, and I'm sitting there in the train car, and and then it was like everybody getting off, and pretty soon, like we're the only ones left on the car, and we're just sitting there, because that can happen. And then
Are
we
you at a
realized-
station?
yeah, we're at a station, and we realize they've disconnected that car. The train is left, it's gone. We're sitting in a disconnected, empty train car waiting for, I don't know how maybe they disconnected two cars so that way it looked like, because you would have known if the other train car had left, but you couldn't tell. So they left us sitting there in an empty train car at the station. Okay, it
What
wasn't
did
that
you
good.
do?
We laughed, we cried, we hugged it out. I mean, I don't know what we did. We got off the train car and waited for the next train.
What do you do? Steve, you're the expert. What do you do?
What do you
Well,
do?
This is an
It's an interesting
thing.
question.
It is an interesting question, and it's very much about Italian culture. And for them, it's normale. Everything that the chaos is totally normal. Like we were never disconnected from a train, but we were on an express train from Naples to Rome. So it's an hour. We get about 30 minutes out of Napoli and the train stops. And we're kind of looking around and no one on the train is even the least bit, they're just sitting there reading their paper, having a conversation, whatever. We sat there for over an hour. Then finally they get on the announcement. And of course, this is all in Italian, so we're trying to translate. But they say, we're going to be leaving soon, but we're not going to the Termini station in Rome. We're going to a different station. And so, but the train was a connecting train to all these trains going north. So the chaos. So we end up going to this other station, Tiburtina, which is a new, much more modern train station on the eastern side of Rome, which is, and so you go into the train station, it's absolute pandemonium. And all the people so what happened was there was a strike. So none of the trains that were at the Rome Termini station were leaving. So none of the arriving trains
Right.
pull in because there's nowhere to stop.
Right, because they've got everything
They have
stacked.
to go to a different station.
Yeah.
But
Shuffle
then
the
all
cards.
the other connecting trains, I can't imagine the chaos. And so then at that point, we're trying to figure out how to get to the other side of Rome. So we go out and we stood in a cab line, actually. And there must have been 500 people in this cab line. and there's no cabs. It's like one cab pulls up, and it's like goes past 3 blocks of people, and then 2 people get in the cab, and then we're standing there. So then we said, well, let's take the metro. So we go down into the metro, and I mean, it's just an absolute zoo. It reminded me of pictures of Tokyo where they're cramming people
Right.
into the subways, and we did get to the other side of town without too much trouble, but it's a different mindset where they're very comfortable with the chaos.
Right.
And the trains, usually if there's a strike, it's with the trains because that will cause
The most.
and of course they always strike. It's either a Friday or a Monday, so they get a long weekend. They never strike in the middle of the week because what's the point of that? But the door not opening is so it happened to Chris when Chris was coming, and so I mean, I don't know how normal people would resolve this issue. Sort of like if you're going to Chicago and the doors don't open and you end up in Milwaukee. Well,
Yeah.
what do? In Italy, you have to buy a ticket to get back to where you were supposed to be. They're not going to take you back there for free. The door didn't open. Well, it's not my problem. So when my daughter Kate was coming with another friend and his girlfriend, and they got to Afragola, which is a train station outside of Naples, where we had them go to that station, so we didn't have to go into downtown Naples. Again, like you, Chris, she's pushing the buttons, the doors don't open. Well, fortunately, TJ and his girlfriend got off, but Kate took the train into Naples, and we're on the phone with her, and we just said, get off the train in Naples and we'll find you.
Yeah.
But I just think, what about the people that don't have the resources? You know what I mean? Like you're walking and then you have to wait for a train to take you back, and hopefully the doors open when you come back to the other town. But there's a good chance, a very good chance that they won't work again and you'll end up in Milan or, anyway.
I have to say it kind of adds to the excitement of traveling.
Like you need more excitement.
But I think overall, traveling in Europe by train, Mike and I and Steve, we all lived in Italy I lived there for 8 years, and it was almost, you're right. It becomes a way of life, but it's so convenient. There are times where you have the issues like we're speaking of, but as many times as I rode the train or the subway or the bus, you got your stories, but overall, the 90% of the time, it's pretty reliable, and they do a good job of getting there on time and moving people around. Compared to the United States, I think they do an excellent job.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
The trains here, we were taking, so for our anniversary, my wife and I went to Seattle and spent a few days there and took the train back. Well, coming back from Seattle, there was a snowstorm. And so we leave Seattle at 1 in the afternoon. At 10 o'clock at night, we're still not even close to Salem. We're still, in Washington, 70, 80 miles away, but we're out in the middle of nowhere. And the conductors and all the staff on a train can't work more than 14 hours. So this train stops in the middle of nowhere, and they have to drive a shuttle with the new crew out and try to intercept this train because it just stopped on the tracks wherever it was. It was like, boop, we're done. That's it. We can't go another foot. And they have to, so it took another hour and a half for them to shuttle the crew out. So we didn't get home till 1 o'clock in the morning. We spent 13, 14 hours on that stupid train from Seattle. I'll never I'm never going to take another train on the West Coast again.
I took a train, speaking of trains in the United States, from Fayetteville, North Carolina to Burlington, Vermont. It was an excellent train ride.
Really?
Yeah, I mean
Good for you.
yeah, I loved it. Take that, West Coast. No, I mean, I don't know. It was just, even though we went through New York and everything, the staff was really, it was very pleasant. Not a lot of people were on the train. You don't see a lot crowded trains in the United States. And the staff was really, they're just very helpful.
It's like you get on the, before you get on the train, they have a deck of cards. They pick a card. And you pick the card. And
I don't know how they do it. But then
you dumbass, you're not going anywhere today.
Then we went from Burlington to Portland. We stopped in Chicago to visit Steve for a day or two. It was a miserable, from Burlington to Chicago was pretty miserable. I mean,
now, did you
the
get a
staff
sleeper?
was kind of nasty. We had a sleeper going the long leg. Going from Fayetteville to Burlington, we didn't get the sleeper because it wasn't too bad of a, whatever, 18 hours or something. But yeah, the long leg, we did get the sleeper, and still the staff. I mean, that makes a big difference. Is
Sure.
the way you're treated and how they take, just move stuff around, whatever. But anyways, it's kind of roll the dice here in the United States. But we were on time, and they got us where we wanted to go. It may not have been as pleasant as we had hoped, but.
Well, the nice thing about being on the train, and I got to admit, this is the nice thing about it on the train. You're there. You can read, see the sights, and it does take. It's not following the traditional freeways. You're going through the center of towns. There is a certain je ne sais quoi to the whole experience. You're seeing different things. You're kind of off the beaten track somewhat. So it is kind of cool in that respect. But yeah, it is kind of a crapshoot as far as you're getting if you're going to get like a good experience or a tremendously painful long experience. So
we had we were in Rome one year actually for our anniversary, and we were staying in Rome for a week, and then we were going to Naples, and we had purchased advance tickets. We had our tickets in advance. And so we get to, and I will just tell you, going to Rome, Termini is the name of the main train station in Rome.
Right.
It is a perpetual zoo.
Even the Italians are confused there. I mean, it's not just the tourists.
They make the best cannolis I've ever tasted in the Termini station in Rome.
Really?
Oh, they were fantastic.
Really?
But Steve,
there's actually some really good pizza restaurants. Some of the best pizza we got around the Termini. It's funny, because growing up there as kids, you think everything, Rome, the eternal city. Well, some things aren't eternal in Rome. I go in and order a piece of pizza. I say, 400 or was it four etti, so 400 grams of pizza. And the guy looks at me and goes, "You don't order pizza like that." He goes, where? I said, well, don't you get, he goes, you get a slice of pizza. That's what you get, for €2 or whatever it was. And it was the best pizza we had in Rome. Actually, some of the best pizza we had was down in Guardia, really, at the little place down there. But the pizza, the rest of the places wasn't good. I mean, it just wasn't. Where did we used to get? Remember that there was I think it was Piazza del Popolo right at the head of Borghese Park. Now they got the metro there.
Yeah, that's where you get pizza by the Edo.
Well, that's no longer there.
Because nobody buys pizza by the Edo.
That's exactly right. The whole Edo store is gone. They done all those Edos, and there's none left.
So, Steve, continue your anniversary.
Oh, sorry.
So
yeah, Mike.
Tutto okay. Tutto okay. So we have had so many kerfuffles at Termini, wrong trains, everything going wrong. So this time I thought, okay, you're not going to mess with me this time. So we get there. We find the train on the board. It's track 8. It is, I think it was in the afternoon. It was like 2:20. So we go through, actually, no, back then they didn't have security because it was pre-COVID. COVID. And so we go to track 8 and we look up and it says Napoli. And I go, the train's here early. So I go up, I say to the conductor who's standing outside the door, of course they speak English, but I said in Italian, are you going to Napoli? They said, si. So we get on the train. So I'm thinking, I got this covered. So we get on the train, we sit down. Of course, I can't find my seat because the seat numbers don't line up or whatever. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. So then the conductor comes. Of course, the train leaves. I thought, this is weird. We're leaving 10 minutes early. So the train leaves. The conductor says, can I see your tickets? He said, I show him my tickets. He said, these aren't any good. I said, yes, they are. This train is going to Naples. This says Naples. He said, yeah, but it's the wrong train line. So
right. They got
the train line. This is how bizarre it gets. Our train, that train left track 8, which was going to Naples 10 minutes early. The next train comes in, which is going to Naples on track 8. It's a different line. So we had to buy new train tickets. We spent another $150 to buy the tickets on the train. But it's just one of those things where you couldn't imagine that, you know what I mean? Everything happened so fast, and they would put the same train at the same track, but different line, but different. Anyway.
It reminded me of, like, I went to a dog racing in Arizona where you watch a track, the dogs, the numbers, and that's what sitting in Termini. Okay, that's our track, that's our train number. Matt, is it still?
Come on, baby!
Still, okay, still in the lead, still on train. Okay, wait a minute, that one's moving. Oh, it's just that kind of this.
It is total pandemonium.
Waiting for that. Oh, that's our track, that's our train. It's still in the lead.
Well, what's so hilarious, and the good thing is, good and bad. I speak a little Italian. It's good and bad, so you can ask people, use, and like you say, that's a really weird one because you're never going to be able to work your way around that kind of a situation. But most of the time, people will help you out if you ask or find somebody that speaks English. They're more than happy to help you and direct you to the right one because it is total pandemonium there. Even buying tickets out of those machines,
which never work.
It's really crazy. And then we went into we were in the trains when we went into Naples. I went to do a withdrawal out of the station at Naples, cash withdrawal. I don't know how much. I mean, I probably spent $50 just to get 300 or 400 euros. Anyway, and don't ever use the Cambio exchange places in Rome. It's, if you're traveling in Italy, in and around, don't go to those Cambio. I mean, unless you're so loaded, money doesn't mean anything because
or the other thing is don't go to the independent ATMs. Right. If you use an ATM, go to one that's in front of a bank, that's connected with a bank.
Right.
The independent ATMs, I would say you're going to pay about a 25%. Like if you're going to get 100 euros, you'll end up spending 125 to 140 euros.
Wow. Yeah.
And you really have to read. You have to read the all of the info as it comes up on the screen, and a lot of that doesn't happen here as much, where they just say there's a $4 fee. Not there.
Yeah.
The ATMs, the independent ones, are just like, it's usury. I mean, it's just an insane amount of money. We were leaving to the airport and I was going to go around the corner to get some cash. So I just wanted like 20 euros. Well, that 20 euros would actually cost me about 45 euros.
Wow. Yeah. So you got to be careful with that.
It's a $20 fee, and then it's a 5%, and then 10%, and then the exchange and all of this. But anyway, it just.
Is it the post office a good place to go? Where they?
Yes.
Remember? Okay, and go ahead with that.
So even in our little town, there were two banks, and you would pay a 14% premium if you went to the bank, that was just what they added. Of course, I don't think anyone believed me, but I went up to the post office, which in Italy, it's sort of like the UK. The post offices, they do everything, you know. Anyway, but all post offices have an ATM. But the ATMs, literally, it's an exact exchange. They charge you the current rate and exchange it, and there's no fee. So I was buying a very inexpensive car, and by going to the ATM, because I could only withdraw like $300 a day, and the car was like $1,500, so it was like 5 transactions, and I think I saved like 150 euros by not going to the bank and by going and having to walk another 3 minutes up the street to the post office. It was exhausting, but I made it.
Well,
And
and
you
that's
got
the
in
thing.
the
They're
shape.
all. Yeah, you got.
I lost weight.
I was going to say,
And-
walking
not
up and
money.
down those hills. Yeah, you got to get. There's a lot. Yeah, traveling is crazy. I don't.
Crazy fun.
Crazy fun. I like getting there. I don't necessarily like the travel, although the flights over are bad. I like the flights to Europe usually are pretty. The few that I've taken have been really good. I mean, yeah, was it KLM or yeah, I think it's KLM.
I took Lufthansa, which was a great flight into Rome from, I think, Raleigh or Charlotte. Yeah, but yeah, it was a great flight.
I mean, it's kind of weird because you do, if you're flying out of Portland, I mean, you literally fly over the poles or close to the North Pole. It's kind of interesting. Yes, sirree, Bob.
So, since we're talking about trains, so what, the train is from 2024 is pulling into the station today. Today's December 31st. So what kind of similar, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Metaphor. What kind of metaphor?
Metaphor, the 2024 train. And while you guys are thinking about that, I'm just going to show you what the 2024 train looks like as it pulls in the station. And that will be our metaphor. And that's how we kind of.
Who's the conductor? That's what I want to know.
We're going to go through all this. It's going to be right here. And this very exciting little video.
There we are. There we go. Here's the train. It's a candy chocolate. There you go. There's the button. Push it. Oh. 2024.
The 2024 cookie kit train.
Nice.
It just rolled into the station.
Now, so is it going into the past or is it coming to the future?
2024 is the past.
No, it's still here today, but I'm just trying to figure out the train. It looks delicious. Okay, we all agree.
We made it. Kim and I made it last night. It was a lot of fun, as you could tell. I'm trying to get out of it now. I don't know how to.
Are those hamburgers or are those cookies?
Hamburger.
Oh, that's right. You're on the carnivore diet. They're hamburgers.
They're hamburgers, Steve.
With mayo in between.
Oh,
yeah, with mayo,
the best.
Mayo
loaded with that mayo.
Chicken hearts and chicken eyeballs. Chicken guts to decorate the
it's a beautiful thing.
No, but I just wanted to play that video.
It was so worth it. That
was very moving, Chris.
Get
it? Moving train.
Get it? I get it. Moving into
that was the ultimate pun there. That was.
So, anyways, that's our metaphor. Well, 2024 as it clunks in, all beat up, chugging away, make it into the station as the final stop. Get off. The doors open.
Ooh. Wait, don't you stay on the train if you're going into 25? Go ahead.
No, you get on the 2025 train. Go ahead, Steve.
A little bit about, one of the fun things about the bygone era, when we were living in Rome in the 70s, the train stations were much different because there were no vending machines. And back in the 70s, Italy was very, I want to say third world. It was very earthy, and there weren't a lot of mechanization. I mean, they had cars and stuff, but it was still, I think they were still recovering from World War II.
Yeah, sure.
But one of the things that I loved is when the train anywhere, Rome, Naples, wherever, would pull into the station, they had the guys with the carts, and they would go Birra, Acqua Minerale, Panini, and they would be selling stuff, and everybody would be hanging out the windows of the train, buying stuff from the vendors, and it would just.
And you get on the train with your big sandwich. With
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys remember.
You got your suitcase and your sandwich, and you're getting on the train.
Well, I remember, even in Rome, around Rome in the winter, and I guess they could get away with it because it was colder, so things stayed better after it was cooked. But you'd go and they'd have like somebody be with like a 50-gallon drum roasting a pig. And you could stop, and now we've got the cart, so it's kind of coming back. All things kind of come back around. But I mean, these guys would just be roasting a pig in a 50-gallon drum with it, partially cut out and kind of made into a barbecue.
With the head on?
With the guy's head was still on, yes. I don't know.
No, the pig's head.
Yeah, the pig. I don't know. I can't remember if the pig's head was still on, but yeah.
Actually, a little side note, in Rome Termini station, if you go up to the second level where all the food shops are, and you go to the left and go all the way to the end, there's a little restaurant, and they specialize in porchetta, which is a roast pork. And you can get a great big bowl of roast pork or get a sandwich or whatever. It's amazing. Anyway, that's one of my favorite stops.
Oh, I see. Now I never went upstairs. We just focused on trying to figure out, get our tickets, get on the thing.
We get there early.
Next time, yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah,
Usually
we got there early and got the cannolis. We were there at whatever.
We were there at 6 in the morning eating
just
cannolis.
to get cannolis. I mean, they were beautiful. They were beautiful.
Yeah,
and they tasted great.
The cornetti, don't call them cornutis because that's two different words, and you don't want to go there. I was in this little coffee shop in the morning in Campo di Fiori, that little piazza there, and I was standing in front of the guy and I'm looking at it, and I said to him in Italian, is it it's not, I said, I know it's not cornuti, but what is it? And he kind of looks at me like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, your
American.
grandmother too. Yeah.
And he goes, cornetti. I said, okay, yeah, see, grazie.
You wanted to say cornuti.
I did. Oh, wait, let me say
all this time.
Wait, let me say
Ugly American. There you go.
Or
Aren't
just
we
ugly.
all?
Yep.
Or just ugly.
Or just ugly. Anywho.
So, as the metaphor for 2024 train, anyone have something they want to say, anything philosophical about 2024 as we move into we get on the new train 2024?
I you know what, there was so much stress going up to the election on both sides. It was such a relief to get beyond it, and whoever, in spite of the outcome, I think people in general were so relieved that it wasn't a lot of unrest or upheaval. And I was so relieved. My wife was so stressed out by the whole thing. There was so much talk of people aren't going to like the outcome and they're going to steal, you know what I mean? And it was such a relief. So I am so glad to see 2024. I hope that train stops at the station.
That means the doors open.
The doors open,
and
everybody gets out
and
moves on. Move along on foot. You'll probably get there faster. But anyway, I was just so relieved that the election was over. The results, regardless of who you voted for, man, I was just glad to be done with that whole 6 months of just all the, the back and forth and blah, 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 blah. So anyway. So
I hear you, Michael.
I'm looking forward to a great 2025.
Steve, do you have a poignant metaphor for 2024 as we continue on?
Well, it'll be an interesting 2025 will be an interesting year. 2024 was tumultuous for my Ann and I, our family. So it was just kind of a series of events. The end of 23, one of my closest friends in Italy passed away. Then the beginning of 23, a neighbor that we knew for 25 years, her husband passed away, and we didn't know it. We missed a funeral. And then literally the day that we were getting on a plane, we were in the States for Christmas and New Year's. The day we're getting on the plane, mother died.
Oh, wow.
And so we just, got on the plane. And then 3 days after we got back, one of the other expats that lived in our town just below us was found dead in her home. She had passed away, and no one knew it, and she was just sitting on her steps. And then we moved from Italy back to the US and had to kind of reestablish our whole life over again back here. But as we're closing all of that, we have been settled in our own land, and it's a wonderful place. And Mike, with the election thing, I hear that in spite of all of that tension, and it was epic, this is the greatest country in the world.
It is.
And we talk about the chaos of Italy and all the, I think that was part of us coming back, is because even the Italians who move here, and since I've met two, one from Modena and one from Florence, I said, would you ever go back? They say, absolutely not. Never go back. I mean, they go back to visit family.
Sure.
But they would never move there. The efficiency and the structure of our country and the peacefulness and the order here is the best in the world.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the Germans may be a little more timely. And in Indonesia, I don't think they have chewing gum on the streets.
Oh, come on.
But other than that, it is.
I've got a
country. I'm
metaphor.
very happy to be here.
I've got a metaphor.
Another one?
This is my first one. This is my first metaphor.
You're only allowed one metaphor per show.
There you go. And this is my metaphor. It's like you're in the bathroom, you've done your dirty business, and you're looking in the toilet, and you're just about to flush it. And that's 2024 in that toilet. And man, it's like, man, I'm glad that's over. And it just, and then you move on. There you go. How's that?
That's a crappy metaphor.
Well said, Chris.
Well said.
That's my metaphor.
No, that's a pun.
That's my pun.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I appreciate it. Sounds
now
good.
we're only going to do anecdotes and assimiles from now on. So we're moving.
No
through
more metaphors, because they
Can we do acronyms?
Ooh.
No. Great metaphors. Even Mike, I got it. I get it. We all get it. We all done it. But I think, and I know, and you guys would agree, 2025 I think will be much better. This train we're getting on is moving out the station. I think it's really going to be a fun ride, and the fuel's going to be cheaper.
Woo!
Yeah.
And maybe Bitcoin will go up.
And Bitcoin will go up.
Wouldn't that be nice, huh?
So we'll do the sign off on that. All positive for 2025.
I'm hoping.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Bald Noggins signing off.
Woohoo! Enchanté, s'il vous plaît.